Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of The Inside Scoop, the podcast where I give you an inside look into some of the most interesting people I come across. I'm your host, Christina, and today we are joined by one of my favorite people to converse with ever, Sara, who also happens to be my roommate. Sara is naturally very curious about the world and very introspective, which is why I love talking to her. But above all, she's a really great listener and always listens with an open mind, so it's really easy to have an open and honest conversation with her. So, before you get started, if you're listening to this on Spotify, please give the show a 5-star. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell so you know when the next episode drops. And before we get started, I just want to say apologies for the audio quality here. We had some technical difficulties, and by that, I mean I had the great idea to film this outdoors, which, if you can't tell by my sarcasm, was not a great idea. I tried my best to edit it, but it is what it is. Hopefully the next one will be better. But yeah, with that being said, let's get started. Welcome, Sara.
Hello.
Yay. Okay, thank you so much for being on my podcast and being the second guest ever. How does it feel?
I'm very honored, although I would feel even more honored about the first.
Sorry. I was too nervous for the first, okay? Okay, so I like to start every podcast off with some trivia questions.
Okay.
So I prepared some questions for you.
Okay.
Seeing as you're from Singapore and you just moved here, there are going to be some questions about Singapore and some questions about New York.
Okay.
And then a couple questions about music, because I know you love music.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question. What is the national fruit of Singapore?
Chicken rice?
Fruit.
Fruit.
National...
Durian.
Yeah. You like durian?
I'm okay. I don't really like to eat the actual durian itself, but I like durian flavored things.
Oh, interesting. Is it because of the texture?
Yeah, and I used to nosebleed all the time.
Because it's super heat, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Same. I don't mind the flavor. I just don't like the texture. It's just like so mushy.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you got the first one right. Okay.
Uh-huh.
True or false? Chewing gum is banned in Singapore.
I think it's not banned, but the sale of chewing gum is banned.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it says
it's banned, right?
Google says it's banned.
Yeah, like because you can't sell it, so no one really chews it.
Yeah. Okay, the third question. What is a New York landmark that was a gift from France? I feel like you know this.
I do?
I feel like you should. I feel like everyone knows this.
Huh? Wait, landmark?
That was a gift from France.
Is it a statue? Where?
You know this.
I do?
It's one of the most well-known, most iconic statues of New York.
Yes. Can I get options?
No.
I don't know.
No. It's the Statue of Liberty.
Oh!
Yeah.
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
I'm surprised.
I'm also shook.
I did. Okay, well. Okay, you got the first Singaporean ones right. Okay,
yes.
Now we're moving into music.
Okay.
I don't know if you're gonna know this, but I feel like you might. Which borough is the birthplace of hip hop?
I think
I feel like you would know this. No.
So Queens is Bronx?
Yeah.
What?
Right? Yeah.
Damn.
That's where like a lot of like famous rappers like Jay-Z and like.
I thought he was from Brooklyn.
Is he from Brooklyn? Okay, maybe I have it wrong, but I know the Bronx is like where hip hop came from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, this is, I don't know if you're gonna know this,
Yeah.
but which neighborhood in Manhattan was the center of the punk rock scene?
Okay, wait, is it the lower side or the upper side?
I can't tell you.
Hell's Kitchen?
No, Hell's Kitchen is not punk rock.
I don't know. In the past, it might have been different. Okay, wait, lower or upper? Like, okay, is it below Midtown or above Midtown?
Below, I think.
Okay, I'm guessing like Chelsea.
No, close.
West Village.
Oh wait, not close to Chelsea, my bad. I don't know my direction.
Damn, I really don't know.
East Village.
East Village?
Yeah. Which I was surprised. East Village doesn't give
so
me really
like
punk rock
it's so
vibes.
dancey.
Yeah. But I guess like back then in like the 19 whatever, that was the center of punk rock. Okay.
You didn't give me a time frame.
Sorry, Timer wasn't written on here. Okay, cool. Let me see how many you got right. I think you got like 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I think I got all the New York ones.
Yeah.
No, I think
You got the 2 Singapore ones.
No, I only got
No,
two.
it's okay, you just moved here, it's fine. That's your excuse.
Immigrant.
Okay, cool. So one of the reasons why I asked you to be on my podcast is I love discussing our different thoughts and ideas. And one of the things that I'm really interested in is like the cultural differences in Singapore and America. And I thought we could start with something that I personally think is really interesting, tipping culture. So can you talk about like what tipping culture is like in Singapore?
There isn't any.
There
Like
is.
so sickening, right? That the restaurant pays a living wage to
Yeah,
its
that's
employees.
crazy.
I feel like the US is the only place that normalizes
Tipping?
like shifting the burden of paying like your workers a fair wage to the consumers. It's like on top of paying for the food, you have to help pay for your workers.
Yeah,
Like who
it's so
does
unfair,
it?
right?
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, actually, that makes me wonder, like, how did tipping even start? Like, there's no way, like, you just, like, when the restaurant industry started or whatever, it's like people just consider, like, oh, let me just tip you, right? Like, it makes me wonder, like,
I think I actually have no idea. I should have. Yeah, why didn't I do some research into this?
no, it's
But I
okay.
think my guess is like probably, maybe when people were generous in the past, they were like, oh, I want to pay you out of my own pocket to like
Makes
extend the gratuity, right?
Yeah.
To you. Like to extend the gratuity to
Yeah,
the service staff.
yeah.
Is it?
Is it raining? No, it's okay. I think it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then maybe they just normalize this behavior.
you know, there's actually like, when I was in like college and I was looking for jobs, right? One of my friends worked in the restaurant industry, and they actually pay their workers below minimum wage because they know you will get tipped a lot.
Really? Was
So,
it a
like,
fine dining restaurant?
It was like Korean barbecue.
Oh.
Yeah. So then like they know that like your wages, your tipping amount
Yeah.
will compensate for more than like what your wage would be. So instead they'll pay you like below minimum wage, which I think is like illegal.
It's like why?
Yeah.
Like why go through all these like different
Yeah.
just to arrive at the same conclusion, just to
Yeah.
just pay a living wage in the first place.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts when you first came to like New York?
Yeah.
I don't know if New York was the first city you visited in America, but like what were your first thoughts when you first came and you like had to tip someone?
Yeah, actually, New York was my first U.S. city. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I think I was just like very mind blown because of whatever I just told you. Right? Like I think anywhere else, there hardly is any tipping culture. Like in Asia, and like anywhere in
Europe
Asia.
too, right?
Yeah, Europe is like hardly. I think unless you maybe have like a really huge party or something, or like you order a lot of food and then maybe it's like a 10%. But even then, it's like 10%, right? It's not like 20% nowadays.
Yeah,
It's just something
crazy. I feel
ridiculous.
like 20 is like the minimum, and I'm like, even then, I'm like,
It's like
a lot.
when you click on custom and then you just feel like a little miser.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't.
normalize being poor.
Literally.
I think it's also like this. I don't know. Do you think there's like a sense of like showmanship as well, right? Like because like I can afford to tip 20%, or like I can afford to tip like so it's kind of like the image they're trying to sell to other people as well.
Yeah, like you want to look.
generous.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah, that's true.
They're comfortable.
Yeah. Do you feel like that probably contributes to like obviously the tipping culture, right? Like the rich people that can afford it. There's also like the people that can't, but they want to look like they can.
Yeah.
And then the people that feel bad, so they do it
It's
anyway.
like self-perpetuating
Yeah.
cycle, right? So the solution is just to remove this.
To remove tipping? Yeah. If only we could, I don't know, do something about this capitalistic country.
No, it's crazy. Like I remember when I like one of my first jobs out of high school before uni, right? I was waitressing at this cafe, which happened to be Clinton Street Baking Company. Like they opened a branch in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
And I was one of the first like waitresses, and then we had a tips jar, but it never came to me. It never came to me. And
What?
I was like, yeah, and I was like,
So the owners
they just
took
took it. Yeah. So I was like,
What the
I
heck?
memorized the menu for nothing.
Yeah, you do all this work and you're so nice for what?
For nothing.
Do you feel like it's like so ingrained that like you wouldn't? Like do you feel like the urge to tip whenever you go back to Singapore now? Is it like a second nature?
To tip?
Yeah.
No, I just feel so much happier.
Really?
Like, I'm like, yes, finally a functioning society.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like tipping culture was something that I found mind blowing that other countries don't tip. I was like, how do the workers live? And
I don't know, maybe they have better social welfare systems.
Yeah.
in place.
It just didn't occur to me that like in other countries you pay your workers enough, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, weird segue. I guess we can also talk about relationship dynamics. And the thing about this is that I want to talk about your thoughts on dating in America and in Singapore first. So, like, what are your thoughts about like dating culture in America versus Singapore?
I feel like I probably can't really talk about dating in the US because I think the other time when I dated here, I think I was only like in my early 20s and I was doing my internship, right? So
I thought it's like prime dating time, I guess, when you're like meeting new people. Even though you're not like seriously dating, it's still like meeting new people.
Yeah. I feel like in general, the people I meet here are just a lot more interesting than the people I meet back home.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I feel like everyone here seems to have a hobby.
Do people in Singapore not have hobbies?
No. I mean, like it's not very common. I mean, not that. How do I put it? For example, I think people definitely have hobbies, right? Because they want to feel that time back home in Singapore. But if you ask them, like, oh, how long have you been doing it? It's not something that's like a lifelong passion that they followed through with it since young, you know? They kind of like do it because, oh, somehow everyone seems to be doing it. Like, for example, there's a phase in Singapore where everyone was just cycling. And then
so it's more like, I guess it's not like personal hobbies, it's just like what's trending, right?
Yeah. So it doesn't feel very like genuine. And then there's a phase where everyone was like climbing, and then obviously that kind of phased out for a bit, and I guess those people who really got into it continued. But I think it's just why like it's kind of difficult to meet anyone that I really like because I value someone who is curious and like explores, right? Like so even if like a lot of the guys that I used to meet, or maybe it's my problem, right? That somehow I just like, just keep on finding all these people who just are like kind of boring. But there's just a lot of the people I meet, like if you ask them, oh, what are like your favorite movies, and then like a TV series, and they're like, oh, The Office, and I'm like, anyway. Or like they don't seem to explore like a lot of other forms of art. I think it's one thing if you have never experienced it, but it's another thing to not be curious about it. So I can like, it's like maybe if you've never experienced it, I can show you. But if you're not interested, then like it's very hard to work with, right? So I feel like in general, people in Singapore just aren't that curious.
Oh, yeah. Why do you think that is?
Because it's so safe, like, and so it's almost like you have a formula to leading a very contented life. And all you have to do is just follow the script. So you aren't really venturing out on your own.
Yeah.
And I think our education system, in a way, just kind of like kills our creativity. Like even when we answer like open-ended questions, right? There's like a formula, there's like a structure that we have to follow. Even when you're like writing essays.
What? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and like, or like, I don't know, like, just isn't much room for us to grow creatively, especially in the arts. Yeah, like growing up, my dad would always be like, when I told him I wanted to do music, because I wanted to go to music school.
Yeah.
And then my dad was like, oh, you're not even that good. And then he'll be like, oh, but if you do music, what are you gonna do in the future, right? So that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, because I'm not good enough, so maybe you shouldn't try, because you don't want to risk failing and being
So you know how you said there's like a formula to like a successful life, right?
Yeah.
It kind of like reminds me of like how like Asian American immigrant parents here, they're like, oh, become a doctor, become a lawyer, or whatever, right? Do you feel like it's like the same, I guess, kind of concept?
Yeah. So like growing up, we had a science stream and an art stream, right? So the science stream are people who do like physics, chemistry, biology, math, and then you have a whole bunch of people who go into the humanities/art stream where they pursue more like linguistics or like literature. And even then, in my high school, there were out of 24 classes, there were only 3 arts classes.
Dang.
Yeah, like everyone wanted to do the science route.
Yeah.
And it wasn't balanced at all. So, and even if it's balanced, I mean, even those who are in the art stream, I don't think like there was a lot for them to grow.
Yeah, because there's probably not enough like resources or something, right?
Or rather, they choose to delegate resources into other aspects. So you don't see too many creatives, but I feel like that's changing nowadays, which is great. Like people venturing out to do their own stuff, which is something that's very heartwarming.
Yeah.
But we can never like compare it to a society like the US, right? Like, literally everywhere you turn around here, there's some like bullshit indie hipster.
So true.
Yeah, so that's something that I appreciate a lot here. Like people explore because there's so much to explore.
Yeah.
But back home in Singapore, like there really isn't much to explore. Even thinking about like, oh, which bands come to Singapore? Like none.
Yeah.
Backstreet Boys, maybe Celine Dion.
Wait, I love Backstreet Boys though.
Yeah, that's why I don't think a lot of people know a lot of stuff.
Oh.
Like just by the kind of things we consume. So that's kind of different.
It's so interesting because I actually was reading when I was Googling the trivia questions. I was reading how like Singapore, they deem themselves as a meritocracy, which is basically like you invest in the individual, right? And I guess it's so interesting to hear that you feel like people aren't very individualistic. They kind of like follow the trend, follow the group.
Yeah, I mean, because you know, meritocracy is like rewarding people who excel in a certain field, right?
Yeah,
like,
true.
But if you think about it, for a society to be this meritocratic, like what are you judging them on, right?
That's
So
true.
it's a lot of it's kind of like scholastic excellence.
Yeah.
And what's the easiest way to score well, right? Like through our sciences where everything's like black or white, like right or wrong, right?
Yeah, true.
Whereas I think a lot of Asians just don't, at least in Singapore, like they don't want to take risk, which is why they don't like to venture into art. So it's really like ambiguous, right? There's like no right or wrong.
It's so interesting because I feel like from the way that you describe Singapore, like everyone is pretty comfortable in terms of like,
Yeah.
you know, like money and like just life in general is pretty comfortable. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to take a risk if like you come from like a pretty okay family? If you know you have that security net, that's when you should be taking risks.
No, but because you have so much security and stability, you know how
It's like you don't want to.
jeopardize it, right? Because it might seem like, oh, it's not a lot to give up, but actually it is a lot to give up on, right? Like, yeah, and if you fail, I think the worst thing about it is like if you fail, people, because it's so small, right? Singapore, like everyone would know, and there's an element of shame as well.
Yeah.
I think which is
True.
why people are so like against taking risks.
Yeah.
I think shame.
It's true.
It's a huge.
I feel like
thing
shame
in
is
Asia.
and like just I feel like in Asian culture in general, it's just like shame is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's like even people are like, oh, like you don't want to shame your family, so it's like don't do like whatever, right?
Yeah, and I think the worst thing, like shame upon yourself, is like the
Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's a good thing about America is like nobody cares.
yeah, you can just like leave and go to another place and start fresh.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I did. Basically.
Maybe Christina.
I don't know.
That's a real name.
Is that my name? My government name? Where was I going with this? Cultural differences.
Oh yeah,
We're
and
talking
then
about
I guess, like,
relationships,
relationships
right?
too. Like I think a lot of the guys are also like, not gonna lie, like kind of simpish.
Simpy? Do you not like simpy guys?
Like there's a silent majority of men who's just like very happy to have a girlfriend, right? Because I don't know where this sense of like, you know, like low self-esteem or like low self-confidence comes from. But a lot of them feel like, oh, I have a girlfriend and she's the most amazing thing that like happened to me. So because of that, they kind of like give in to every desire of theirs. Like I've seen many couples where it's like, oh, the boyfriend like, oh, my girlfriend's angry and I have to like go comfort her. And she's like angry at me. I have to go like like make it up to her.
Yeah. So you feel like the guys in Singapore, they have to, I don't want to say like bend to like, what's that phrase where it's like bend to like their
Bend over backwards.
Yeah, I guess bend over backwards for like their girlfriends because they're like, I guess, so insecure about themselves. Not insecure, but like low self-esteem unless you have a girlfriend. So you feel like romantic relationships are really like, I guess, put on a pedestal in Singapore.
Kind of, yeah. At least that's how it looks like when I was like growing up, right? Yeah, some guys just really would do anything for their partner to the point where it's just like they just love their partner so much that they're willing to do like anything.
Yeah.
Maybe even the partner has like done them wrong, right? And they still like forgive.
So how do you feel like that affects the relationship dynamic?
No, then and then what you have is like a bunch of girls who become very entitled, right? Or they want to be chased, or they have like a warped sense of how romance should look like. Okay, maybe like I'm not saying. I just feel like to me it's warped.
It's the norm, probably.
hedging my statements. And I feel like that's not how it should be. Like girls suddenly they're like, oh, I want to be chased, I want to be pursued, I want to feel wanted. But do they do anything for the men? Like it doesn't really feel very equal to me. It becomes kind of like unhealthy, I feel.
Do you feel like that's affected by like the media though?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
But I feel like girls are like that here too, but it's just like the men are less bending backwards for us,
Yeah, for sure. Like media played a big part. Like growing up, all my friends talked about was like How I Met Your Mother. Friends. Like they kind of like romanticize all these relationships.
Yeah.
And kind of like ingrained in us how like relationships should be.
Yeah.
Or what romance should feel like.
Yeah.
To the point where when you get something that's more stable or like more calm, and then everyone's like, no, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I want the man who maybe like gaslights me, who makes me feel confused. Like the whole concept of like gender roles, right?
Yeah.
Like what should the man do in the relationship? What should the woman do in the relationship? And then I think there's also like the whole concept of like chivalry.
Yeah.
To me, it's just respect, right, to one another.
Yeah.
Like
I'm just so shook. Okay, when you first told me you did not like the idea of chivalry, I was like, what? I'm just so shook. Like,
no, because why is it one directional?
No,
right?
but like chivalry. Okay, we've talked about this, right? Words can. I mean, it most of the time it means one thing, but it can go both ways. Like a girl can be chivalrous to a guy, right? So why do you hate the idea of chivalry?
I don't. Is it because the way that it's being used, it's always used on a man. You hardly hear it being used on a woman, or rather, even I think if we were to search it up on dictionary right now, I'm pretty sure it's talking about a man rather than a woman. Let's do it now. Yeah, because I swear I think I googled this before. I might also be very wrong. Okay, so chivalrous, it's an adjective, right? Courteous and gallant, especially towards women.
And especially, but it's not always.
And it's a medieval, so chivalry now is a medieval knightly system.
Okay, so it stems from men. But it doesn't always, like you said, it doesn't always have to be like, men doing it for women.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But then you have then maybe the better term is just respect, right? And being, you're just respectful towards each other. Like you care for each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why use an antiquated term with
I mean, but then you can use that term and redefine it in modern ways.
Yeah, like I hold the door open for Luke.
How does he feel about
and
that?
slap his ass off.
Okay. He's emasculated.
Yeah, like
I'm dead.
The whole idea of like chivalry and the notion of it just makes, I don't know, I just don't like the sense of entitlement that some women seem to have, right? And then a lot of times if you think about it, it's always about, I think media always fixate on like, oh, what can the men offer? What can the men bring to the table? But how often do we ask ourselves as women, like, what can we bring to the relationship?
Yeah.
You
know what? Recently, I've actually been asking myself that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I told you about how like that guy interviewed me, and I was like, I'm an 8.5, and he was like, why? I was like, crickets. I was like, yeah, like, what do you bring to the table? And then like I was thinking about, I was like, oh, I'm like, caring, or all the like regular like adjectives, right? And I'm like, but I feel like that's like the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I guess it's hard when society doesn't, not like train, but the society doesn't like normalize the girl bringing something to the table.
Yeah, I think a lot of times maybe that makes some women feel insecure, right? Because they feel like maybe they don't bring anything to the table. That's why they want men to continuously show them affirmation and affection, right? But I think when you think about the question, what do we bring to the table? It's not about. I feel like when I first asked myself to that question, like I think the deeper question I was trying to ask is like, who am I, right? Like
exactly.
Like what? Who am I without
a man?
Without a man, right? Like, and after my first relationship, and I realized I was nothing. when I was like,
God.
I have all this free time. And I was like,
who am
I was
I?
like, what are my hobbies? Like my boyfriend?
Oh my God.
And I was like, no, I can't be this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like when you start investing in yourself, you build character, you build opinions, you have perspectives, you have your own taste.
You're like your
own
become your own person.
Yeah, and that's what you bring to the table,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's
just
true.
your complete self. Like,
That's true.
and I feel like I think to maybe some people might not think much of it, but honestly, I think that's a lot.
Yeah, because not a lot of people actually are very, have any hobbies or like have any like interests
Yeah.
outside of like what's pop culture, I guess. I don't know. You mentioned about how like women are always or who become entitled in relationships and stuff. Is that like your idea of like toxic feminism? Because I know you brought this topic up once. And if it's not your idea of toxic feminism, what is your definition of toxic feminism?
I think it's when women are not being honest with one another.
What do you mean? Please explain.
You know,
be honest with me.
Like, stay clean, top off. like when a man like does something, maybe like kind of shady, and they're like, "Oh, you deserve better."
So you're saying like, even though they don't deserve better, your friend is like, "No, you deserve better."
Yeah, or like they hype you up, despite knowing maybe you don't have that much to offer.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It's like
I mean, but I feel like, don't you feel like that's just what a friend should do? It's like fake it till you make it, right? Your friend should hype you up until you.
But if someone's really deluded, you're just making them even more deluded.
Sometimes delusion is a way to go.
Although I just read this quote somewhere, delulu is the solulu.
Yeah, that's so cute. That's my new. I'm gonna get it tattooed on me. Delulu is the solulu.
But I feel like we should be honest with one another, right? I feel like so much of the time, like media already portray women as like people who don't even have their own personality. Like literally, like we think about all the popular TV series or like movies.
Yeah.
How often do they actually talk about a woman's life without a man, right? Without, or like a woman with her own struggles outside of a man, or like her own building her own character, her own interests. Like not much, right? Growing up, so.
Part of it is because like the genre of these shows is typically like romance or like finding love, looking for the one.
But even then, I feel like there just aren't much that's, even if there is out there, it's not
true. Yeah, there's like not a lot.
It's not a lot, yeah.
That's true. I guess we do need more like media portrayal of women's lives.
Yeah, I just feel like it's toxic when maybe a girl is just focusing too much on her love life. And then she's always complaining, why do men lose interest in me so quickly, or like why do patterns keep on happening?
Yeah.
Obviously something's wrong, but then you just continue to hype them up. You know what I mean? Like,
so you think like toxic feminism is, I guess, like being a bad friend?
I guess so. Yeah, in a way, being a bad friend because you're not being honest with a friend. Right?
Yeah.
You're just hyping them up and not actually
not like constructive hype.
Yeah, not constructive hype. It's like you kind of suck, but I know you can be better.
That's what you need to be telling your friends.
Like, I know you can be better, but you kind of suck right now.
Yeah.
But you don't really hear this, right?
Yeah,
with your friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially in a girl gang.
Yeah. No, I feel like honestly,
you feel like girl gangs do that?
No, I feel like if you're like a true, I guess okay, it depends on like your level of self-awareness, right? There are some people who are just like. Some people are just so surface level, there's no way they truly believe the hype that they're giving to their friend.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's some people like, it depends on your level of self-awareness. If you're self-aware enough and you've done the work yourself and you see it in someone else, if you want to be a good friend, I think you would say those things to your friend, right?
I feel like a good friend would nudge them in that direction to ask them to look within themselves.
Yeah. But then I think that also comes back to yourself though, right? Because if let's say like, I'm not super self-aware about like toxic behaviors, I'm not gonna notice that in you, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like, I guess it goes back to being like an individual, becoming your own person, and the work always starts with you before you can be a good friend to someone else.
Yeah, for sure.
I was not expecting that as your definition of toxic feminism. I thought like,
I said, like those are double standards, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think hypocrisy is like the biggest ick for me as well.
Yeah.
Especially when they're like, oh, gender equality, like I am my own woman, I'm my own person.
Yeah.
But then they also have all these like really weird standards like, oh, men should do this, men should do that, right?
Yeah.
Or like,
that's exactly what I thought you were talking about. Yeah.
And the thing is, they expect so much from men, but they don't expect the same from themselves.
Yeah.
So it's like, where is all this coming from?
So it's
right?
still like a double standard, because like even like the definition of feminism is equality with the sexes, right? But then like at the same time, you're still like, no, like I still expect you to like open the door for me. You know, then it's like
pay the bill, like in the first 10 dates or 20 days. It's just, where do all these standards come from?
Yeah.
Do they think about where they come from? Do they set these standards for themselves? Like,
I think it's definitely set by like definitely the media. Yeah. I think like, but I think like nowadays with like there has been like a change in media, not too great of a change in terms of like gender like standards, but still like I feel like it's slowly, very slowly getting there.
I think culture takes some time to change, but I feel like especially it might be a bit difficult for us because we grew up in times where things just change so drastically and so quickly, right? So even though you have like very progressive movements, but sometimes you still find like many biases are just like ingrained in you. And it's very difficult to even overcome them. It's hard because like we grew up in the age of like where internet just started, and like so like while like at least for me, I'm like 2 years older than you. When I was young, it was still like very traditional, right? And then like as soon as like the internet hit, it's like, oh, you learn about all of this stuff, and it's like so rapid and so fast, and it's like I do have like traditionalness ingrained in me, but it's also like I want to be like modern, but at the same time I want the traditional stuff. Because that's what you're comfortable and familiar with, right? And I was also like struggling with this thing about it, like you know that in theory it makes sense, but then when you have to actually practice it, and then you just find so much like inertia, you find so much like pullback, you're just like I feel like I can't, right? Like for example, like this is something I'm still like trying to work through as well, like this bias of like a man should like provide. I mean, I think ultimately I still want to be taken care of, right? But it's how do I reconcile these differences in my mind, right? Like it doesn't mean that if I'm being taken care of, I'm less.
No, I mean, I don't think so, but
I think in my mind, I'm just so used
like
to feel like if I'm being taken care of, I'm kind of less than my partner. You know what I mean? Like it's a very weird dynamic, and and dating up, like what does that mean, right? Like dating up to me, like the measure of what up is like how much I'm making relative to me. Like I feel like I can't.
But I think that's like a cultural thing, because like personally for me, like I don't feel like if you make less than me, I don't feel like I'm dating down, you know. But obviously you have to make it up in like other aspects. But like I think the most important is like if I enjoy your company, I don't mind. You know, so I think it's a very cultural thing, because I feel like maybe in American culture, I mean, money still means a lot. We are like a very capitalist country, but it probably means less than like it would in Singapore, where like everyone is like well off, right? Then it's like, then if you marry someone that's less money than you, then of course it kind of, you feel the difference.
It's not really. I think for me, I know this is wrong in my mind, and I really, but it's just like I just didn't realize how ingrained in me until only like a few weeks ago. Like when I was thinking about this, innately I measure one's worth to how much they make, and I know this is wrong. But when I think about dating up or down, I think about how much a person makes relative to me, and I equate that to like their sense of ambition, their drive, their ability. And I know that it's wrong.
I mean, like to some point it's kind of right? You have to have some kind of ambition, kind of like drive to make whatever money that you're making, right? And like you have to be more driven if you want to make more. So
but I think
it's a little bit right, but at the same time I know it's not like always, it's not like correlated.
It's not correlated at all, because to some people it's more about purpose, right? So they can be very driven, they can be very ambitious, but for different reasons, right? It's like I really hate this part of my own thinking, because I feel like subconsciously that's how I view myself as well.
Maybe you need to do some like exposure therapy, date some people that make less than you.
But I don't know, that one is up and down to you.
For me,
what does it
up and
mean
down,
to date up or like date down?
I think for me it's a lot about ambition, right? For me, I have to date someone who wants something more. It doesn't matter if it makes you money or not just want something more, but also have like different interests. Like I think you have to be a multifaceted human being for me to feel like I'm dating up, right? Like if you're
if you opens up your worldview,
if like you have no interest, and like you're just like you have no interest, no ambition, that feels like dating down to me. You can be like the richest person, and like you're like trust fund baby or whatever, but like even if you have no interest on like doing things in life, that feels like a huge like dating down for me. So I think for me, it's more like those aspects and not like money.
Yeah.
I don't really care because like I can take care of myself, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's what I feel
Yeah.
about dating up and down. Also looks, but I think I'm just a very superficial person.
I feel like looks is like the last thing on my mind. I think
I don't know how you can do that. I just like can't kiss someone that's not cute in my eyes.
I think I just need someone with really like a really nice smile.
True. Yeah,
I
smiles
think
are really important.
that's what I care about actually.
How does a smile look nice to you if it's not on a cute person?
The
I
thing
feel like
is,
it has to
no,
add
but
up.
if you think about it, right? Someone with a nice smile will always look great. Have you seen an ugly person with a nice smile? Have you seen someone someone with a nice smile and go like, oh my gosh, you're kind of ugly? Like never, right? So
Okay, I
I
guess it's true.
so I feel like if
No.
someone has a nice smile,
They're at some
feel-
level they're kind of good looking. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, fine.
maybe their resting face isn't good looking.
They smile all the time. I guess that's also what you want in a partner too. Someone that's always smiling and happy, and not like someone
for
that's like sad and down in the dumps or whatever. Okay, those were all the topics I had. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really.
Okay.
I think I've bitten a lot.
Huh?
Yeah, like mosquitoes.
Oh yeah, same. I have so many bug bites on my legs.
I was like,
Okay, so I do have a couple questions for my outro. I like to ask my guests, one, what is the best advice you've ever received that you kind of implement like, in like almost daily life?
I think the one that always resonated with me was there was this like janky ass Instagram post from like
Live, laugh, love.
so long ago. But basically the quote went, if you don't like where you are, move. You're not a tree.
Yeah, I've also seen that. It's really good. It's really good.
I think that's the one that I always think about when I start feeling stuck.
Yeah,
Like mentally
that's true.
or like
Yeah, you can always just like get up and like I've actually been watching a lot of YouTube videos about this. A lot of people for some reason have been posting like the craziest, like the most amazing thing about like being a human being in today's time is that you can choose to do and be whoever and whatever you want.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Especially over here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, second question. What is the worst advice you've ever received?
Slay.
That's not advice. That's not
The
advice.
worst advice?
Yeah.
The worst advice is probably like sucking it up, you know, for the sake of it. Basically, people asking you to settle because you are contented. I think I just like to move.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Or good advice to not take, I guess. Okay, and then the last question. I don't know if you've ever read the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
No.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the book, there's an exercise that teaches you how to think about your life moving forward, right? And the exercise is think about being on your deathbed
Yeah.
and think about the eulogy that someone is saying about you. What do you want them to say about you? And basically the point of this is to see like, it's for you to think about like how you want to live your life. And so I'm asking you, what do you want someone to say about you in your eulogy?
Oh my gosh, I'm actually very curious to hear about your answer too.
I haven't
think
thought about this in a long time, so I don't really have an answer.
I think the first thing that popped into my mind was that I brought joy to people's lives.
Mm-hmm. You bring joy to my life.
Like, yeah, that I make people happy, that I push them to be a better version of themselves. Like just a positive energy, you know? Yeah, and someone that they could rely on. I think those are things that matter to me.
That's so interesting. Okay, so another topic that I like to think about is how in Asian cultures it's all about community, but in American culture it's like very individualistic, right?
Yeah.
So my answer to this is very inwards.
Oh.
So you know how yours is like, oh, it's how I affect other people?
Yeah.
For me, it's literally like how I live my life. Like I want people to say like she was adventurous, she was caring, she was daring. Like those are like things that I want people to say about me. Like I want people to be like inspired by how I lived my life.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's kind of like outwards.
Yeah.
I think majority of it is more like
It's kind of like how you experience your life
Yeah.
rather
than like how you're affecting other people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very interesting.
It is so different.
I know. Oh, seriously, I love talking to you. Okay, well, I think that is it. Any last words? Anything you want to plug?
No, not
No?
much. Yeah.
Not
it's
your
just-
radio show?
Summer. Oh yeah. Tuesdays 5 p.m. So far away on Radio Free Brooklyn.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for being on this podcast. Yay! Oh god, so many bug bites.